everyone, it's Layla, if you don't know me by now. The book that I chose for section 4 is The Giver by Lois Lowry. Now, to preface this, I will be reading off of my notes right here on my laptop. And also, disclaimer, I have read this book before. I know we were told to pick books that we haven't read before. But the thing is, when I read this book, I was actually in the 5th grade, like the actual grade level that you're supposed to be reading this book at. And we read it like as a whole class. My teacher would read it to us and we would read it all together. So I really don't remember it. I remember the basic like plot. I remember the main point of it. But I don't remember the details. I don't remember actually reading it. And I think reading it so many years later, I mean, it's like 13 years later, I have like a different worldview, and I can actually understand it better than I would have understood it when I was having it read to me in the 5th grade. So, that's why I chose it, because I thought it would be really interesting to reread it. The basic plot of this, the summary of this is, this book takes place in a dystopian future society where there's, these communities that are extremely structured and kind of bland. Everybody has a place, everybody has a role, everybody has like a structure, everything is very fit, very, and it focuses on a boy named Jonas who's turning 12 years old. And when the kids in the community turn 12, they're assigned their like job role that they will have for the rest of their lives, and they begin training for that role. Now Jonas is he's chosen, he's not just like assigned, he's chosen to be the new receiver of memory, which is some super important role that only one person in the entire community has for their entire life. And then when they get to a certain age, the next person gets chosen. And that is Jonas. So, when he goes to the current receiver of memory, who calls himself the Giver, since Jonas is the receiver, he's now the Giver. He learns all of the memories of the past before they went to what they call sameness in the book. And he realizes that there's so much more to the world, and the world that they're living in is wrong. At least he thinks it's wrong. So him and the Giver, they come up with a plan to change the society for the better. But in order to do that, Jonas has to escape the community. He has to leave. And he takes along with him a little baby that his family has been taking care of, who was considered like underdeveloped. He wasn't developing at the same rate as the other kids in the society as he should have been. And the baby was going to be sent to elsewhere, which is what they do to people who like aren't fit to contribute to the community. So like old people with disabilities, babies who are too weak, too small, who like people who can't contribute to the community, they get sent to elsewhere, which Jonas eventually learns is just killing them, and he thinks it's wrong. So he takes the baby and he runs away, and that is the plot of the book. There are really no visuals. This is the only visual. You could see the tree branches and the grass. I'm not too sure what it's supposed to be, honestly. And then you see this like very vague picture of an old man who we assume is the Giver, because they describe the Giver as a man who looks very old. And he says in the book that he's not very old. He just looks like it because he carries the weight of all of the memories in the world. The genre is children's / young adult literature. dystopian novel, science fiction, kind of. I'm not too sure why it would be considered science fiction. But when I was researching it, it said science fiction, so I would have to do a little bit more thought in that. The quote that I wanted to read was from when Jonas first gets some memories. When he first begins his training, his first memory that he is given from the giver is memories of snow. And he's on a sled going through the snow, and he's asking the giver why that happened. And are you ready? He says, but what happened to those things? Snow and the rest of it. And this is the giver speaking. Climate control. Snow made growing food difficult, limited the agricultural periods, and unpredictable weather made transportation almost impossible at times. It wasn't a practical thing, so it became obsolete when we went to sameness. And hills, too, he added. They made conveyance of goods unwieldy. Trucks, buses, slowed them down. So, he waved his hand, as if a gesture had caused hills to disappear. Sameness, he concluded. Jonas frowned. I wish we still had those things still. I wish we had those things still. Just now and then. The old man smiled. So do I, he said. But that choice is not ours. And that is the first time they mention the term sameness. That is the first time that it's you learn more about the community and the society that they're living in as the book goes on. And moving forward, I do think that's one of the weaknesses of the book, is that there's just this lack of explanation. It's just kind of like you are thrown into this different world assuming that you already know everything about it. There is a part in the book when Jonas talks about an apple changing, and we don't learn until later that the change that he saw was seeing the color, which leads you to assume that they don't even see colors. Everything is black and white in this society. They can't even see colors. And we don't learn that until much later in the book. And as an adult reading it, you can pick up on these things sooner, but this is a book for younger children. I don't think my 9-year-old sister would read this book and figure things out as quickly as I did, you know. There's also a very ambiguous ending. We don't really know what happens. It could be that Jonas gets out and finds another community or a new society or something different. It could be that he dies. Like, we don't really know. You're kind of left to come up with your own ending in your mind, or interpret the ending however you think it's going to be. And I think that could be a weakness, because it could lead to like debates or arguments about, well, how did it really end? I mean, nobody really knows. That could be seen as a good thing, but I think it is a weakness for young children's literature. There's also some controversial themes. Like I said, when explaining the plot, old people and babies who can't contribute to the community get sent to elsewhere, which is killing them. It's euthanasia. And that could lead to some very uncomfortable discussions if you're reading this in a class. It's like, oh, well, why don't we just kill old people when they can't contribute to society anymore? Like, a kid, you know, I mean, elementary schoolers are very, like, they have no filter. They say, my grandma's in a home, why don't they kill my grandma? She's not doing anything, you know what I mean? And there's also a part in the book where Jonas talks about a dream he had, and the parents call it stirrings, which is, he had a sex dream. Like, it wasn't explicitly a sex dream, but reading it as an adult, you could tell that that's what it was. He was like, it was a dream about him and a girl, and he wanted the girl to get naked, and it was like, a very awkward thing. And it was a dream that he had, and he had to tell his parents about the dream, and they said, oh, you're having stirrings, and then they give him pills to suppress the stirrings. And I don't remember that at all from when I read it when I was young. I mean, because I was 10, I had no idea what that was. But some kids might be like, what are stirrings? What is that? What if there are some students who have dreams like that? Like, it could be a very uncomfortable, there could be some uncomfortable conversations to be had. And I think that is considered a weakness of the book, just because they're controversial and we don't really know how parents or students might react to that. But there are a lot of strengths. It teaches kids about like the importance of difference, the importance of the vibrance of life. It teaches us to value seeing colors and having free will and having the power to choose what you want to do in life. And it's a lot of kids' first introduction to like a dystopian novel. So I think it is still a really powerful book. And finally, using it in a classroom setting, I think it would be a good idea to maybe rewrite the ending or write your own ending, because like I said, one of the weaknesses of the book is the ambiguous ending. And so you could tell kids, well, what do you think happened? Do you think Jonas got to a different community? Do you think he died? Do you think he found something else? What do you think happened? And you can allow students to rewrite the ending. I was actually researching some classroom activities that students can do, and I saw one that said you could create a travel brochure, which I think would be a really cool idea, to have students just create a little brochure for the community that he's living in and why you should travel there or why not to travel there. And then finally, I think a really good activity would be a debate on whether the society that he lives in is good or bad, sameness and, the structure of it all. Would you like to live in a society like that, or do you think it's bad? I think it would be really cool to have a debate about that. And yeah, after I finished reading the book, I also went and watched the movie, because there is a movie. It's like any other book adaptation. It's not exact. It's not perfect. I don't really like the movie very much. But that's just me. If you want to go and read the book and then watch the movie and let me know what you think, let me know. And let me know if you've read this book and what you think about this book. Yeah. Thanks, guys!